Hey guys, this is my first video, and it may not be so much teaching today. It's just catching you up on me and what God has been doing in my life over the past 8 months. I mean, my mind has been absolutely blown at how everything, how God has unfolded His plan for us step by step by step over the past 8 months. Tim and I both were born and raised in Georgia. We lived in Newnan, Georgia, for the past 27 years, raised our kids, Jason and Kristen, and have grandchildren now that we have been very involved in their lives. They go from 5 years old up to 14 years old, and many, many, many memories in Newnan of them spending the night and us having parties there. And our life has been in Georgia. Our life has been in Newnan the past 27 years. But most people don't know that I've had a real struggle just feeling discontent for a long time. It's not something that I really talked about, but I knew that I just wasn't happy and I just wasn't content. So Tim and I decided, I guess maybe a year ago, that we needed to think about putting our house up for sale and downsizing because we're getting older, and we had 8 acres of land and it was a lot to take care of that property for Tim. And so we started thinking about, maybe putting our house up for sale in a year. But some circumstances came up that made us both feel very strongly that God wanted us to put our house up for sale this year. And so we began playing around with the thought. We both felt very, very confident that, yeah, this is the right time. We need to do this. We had no idea our house would sell so quickly and we would move so quickly and our whole life would change. And so it's been quite an adventure. But we have a niece and a nephew that live here in Treasure Island, Florida. And we had visited them twice last year, in March and in September, and really loved the area. We've always loved the beach. We have mostly gone to the Panama City, Destin, Seagrove area at least once or twice a year for years and years and years. And it's interesting because every time that we would go to the beach, I mean, going all the way back to when my kids were little, I remember walking on the beach and praying, and my prayer would be, Lord, is there any possible way that we could have a place down here someday? And at that point in time, never really thought about living in Florida. I was thinking about it would be so awesome to have a place that we could go to several times a year. So when we started thinking about it in January and praying about it, I believe it was let me back up a little bit. In January and February, we talked about it. We thought about where we would like to go. My husband took me over to a 55 and older community over in Tyrone. There was a new subdivision, just showing me what it looked like. And when I saw the prices of the houses, I thought, oh my gosh, if we're going to spend that much on a house, I want to move to Florida. And that was a kind of a quick little impulsive statement that I never really even thought about. And my husband shocked me when he said, well, we could. And that's all it took. My heart began to soar. And I truly believe that God leads you by the desires of your heart. And as we talked about it and as I thought about it, I became more and more and more and more excited. But I was also very shocked that I would leave my grandchildren. Because like I said, we've been very, very involved in their life. And not that I don't care about my kids. I care about my kids too. But just the fact that I would leave my grandchildren was pretty much of a shock to me. but I can't explain it to you. I had a confidence like I've never had before. So on February the 28th, we invited some friends over that he is a real estate agent. Began to talk to them about putting the house on the market and what we needed to do. The next day, we were actually going to the beach over in Seagrove, and we thought we'll spend that week praying about it and just seeing how God leads. And so anyway, we continued to have some really deep conversations that week, and just began to we started thinking and dreaming and starting the process of putting our house on the market. So as you know, the market is booming right now. So once we did put our house on the market, after doing some things to it, we sold our house in 3 days. We had, I believe, 16 showings. We had 4 offers. So our house sold very quickly. So we began looking on Zillow, talking to our niece and nephew, and just looking at places down here. And we just felt strongly led to come to Treasure Island, Florida, which is down in the St. Pete, Tampa area. So we've been down here several weeks. God provided a place for us to rent. It's very reasonable and beautiful on the water. We've been here looking, and our story just blows my mind because we ended up putting a contract on the very first condo that we saw. Part of me is like, how smart is that? Rebecca, you know that you're impulsive. Maybe you should have waited. Maybe you should have looked at some other places. The other part of me was like, there's no way you're going to find a place with a water view for that price. And the way the market was, I knew that we needed to snatch it up quick if we wanted it. So anyway, long story short, she had more offers, but she accepted our offer, and we close on August the 16th. So we're going to do a few things to the condo and then move in a couple of weeks later. So we are starting our life in South Pasadena, Florida, which is about 10 minutes from Treasure Island. So it's been quite an adventure. It's sometimes I'm like, am I dreaming and I'm going to wake up? But I think there's a reason that we're here. And I think over the years we'll begin to see, why God led us to this area. So I thought my first video might just be sharing, where I am in my life. We've had some, struggles down here. I did fall 3 days after we arrived and hurt my arm pretty bad. Went to urgent care and they x-rayed it, and I did not break my arm, but it was hurting a lot. So went to orthopedic. They did an MRI. It's not showing any damage, but I still am having pain in my arm. So we're praying about what to do about that. So if you follow me on Facebook, you see a lot of videos and pictures and fun and families visited. And we're on a 2-month sabbatical from our ministry so we could get settled, and we'll pick back up at the end of August with our ministry. But just because we're in a beautiful place doesn't mean that life doesn't happen and we don't have struggles. And, this thing with my arm is a perfect example of that. So life happens. But I'm excited. I'm excited because not only for me, but for you too. God has a plan for your life. God has a purpose for your life. It doesn't have to always be struggling. And that has been the story of my life, is struggling through really, really, really hard things. And I'm in a season, primarily a season right now of blessing and excitement. And I know life will not always be that way. There will be hard times again. But God is with us in every season of our life, through the hard times, through the good times, through the bad times, through the ugly times. And He's very involved in our lives, and He's very involved in your life. So I hope my story will encourage you that God wants to do the same thing for you. He knows the desires of your heart. He knows what you love, what you want to do. You may not even know what it is, but He knows. So just keep getting to know Him. keep building your relationship with Him, following Him, trusting Him in the hard times, trusting Him in the times when He's saying, wait. As a matter of fact, right before all of this happened, I remember thinking, gosh, I've had numerous times in my life where God did something miraculous, where God did something that blew my mind. But I remember thinking, but it's been a long, long time since anything like that had happened. Like I said, I felt pretty discontent for a while. And so God just plain showed out when He did this thing this year. This is bigger than anything He's ever done in my life. So just trust Him that we all have seasons. One of the things I struggle with is I don't want people looking at my Facebook page feeling like they've missed out, or I'm God's favorite child and they're not, or that is not at all what I want you to get from my page. I hope my story encourages you that God sees you. He sees you and He knows you better than you know yourself. He's very engaged in your life. And you will feel just as satisfied as I feel as you walk in His will for you. Because it's only in the center of His will that we're going to be the happiest. So anyway, a little update on us before I start some of the teaching that I'm going to put on my Facebook page. Thanks.